Hello everyone. Today we are going to understand the activity framework or more like the life cycle. Like my curiosity is who is invoking these life cycle methods on create, on start, on stop, on resume. So today we will jump in and we will try to figure it out who how the code is working under the hood. And today I also added a one extra thingy. So hopefully we will also create the hierarchy chart which classes are calling. So we will start. uh, I'm using the same app which I used in my last video, and today I tried to figure it out if the debugger can help us, and I found, yeah, debugger is able to help us to figure it out from where this starts. But still, first we will do on our own, and in between I'm sure we are not able to figure it out because there are too many layers in between. Later we will try by using debugger. So first we have an activity. Yeah, everyone knows we are, because every client's activity extends from the activity. Then who is calling this activity? So there are some internal activities, but what I found, it's called by the instrumentation activity. So instrumentation is this, and then it's from here this method is called. And still we are only focusing on start, but the behavior is around same which I found for the on create, on destroy, on start, on stop, on pause, and on resume. And here so perform start. So we are back in activity, and then who is calling this perform start? This one is called perform restart. So I think it's reuse of start, but I found this one is not a proper method. Originally when you start an activity, this one is called from somewhere outside. So perform start in an activity. Yep. And then who is calling this method? Activity, this one is a restart, and this one is a activity thread. Yes, so I found this activity thread. I think we should go back and then check here. Activity thread, and here we have a handle start activity. Is it same? Yes. So here until now, so we started from main activity, then this is the super activity, then instrumentation, and then activity thread, and then from here. Okay, so we need to go back to check. So this one, client transaction, I'm not sure if this readable for you guys. So client transaction handler. So this is an abstract class, client transaction handler. Client transaction handler, we are here, and then we have a method on destroy, on pause. Where is the on start? We are looking for on start. What is the name of the method? Handle start activity. Handle start activity. So handle start activity is this one. So this one is an abstract class. Is there any documentation? Yes. Define operations that Android app server transaction dot client transaction or its item can perform on client server transaction. What I understand, server transaction means, I think so, the the terminology is on OS level. When the OS giving an order, run this, that is called it. To me it looked like that is called the server. So who is implementing this? Okay. Hmm. So activity thread is also extending this. It means handle transaction method should be available here. Handle start activity, because this is an abstract method. So again, we are in handle start activity. Here we start activity dot perform start. So we still need more go into deep, so no one knows. Okay, so we can go in activity thread, call activity thread, activity thread, found the method name, start activity, then check who is calling this method. So one is client transaction, that one we already saw, it's an abstract class. Local activity manager, start activity item does not, transaction execution, this one is test. So these two we can check. So what is local activity manager? Local activity manager, so it's saying create a new local activity manager for binding activities running within the given parent. mm, Helper class for managing multiple running embedded activities in the same process. This class is not normally used directly but rather created for you. Okay, activity group, so activity group is already deprecated, so this one is should be deprecated class. Then okay, this one looks interesting, transaction executor, and the method name is perform lifecycle sequence. Perform lifecycle sequence. Okay, so this is going to be called, and now okay, first we can read this. This looks nice. So yeah, so once there is a onCreate, transaction handler is calling, okay, handle launch activity. Once there is a onStart, handle start activity, on resume, on pause, on stop, on destroy, on restart. Okay, and this one is a private method, so who is calling this cycle to path? What is that method? Transition the client between states with an option not to perform the last hoop in a sequence. This is used when resolving lifecycle state request, when the last transition must be performed with some specific parameters. And this is a private method, which means this one should be called inside. Okay, one is calling here, which is only overloading with the, and then the second one is calling here. This one is again private method, it's getting client transaction, playing with here something. So we need to check who is calling this. Execute lifecycle, again this one is a private method, should be called somewhere here. Okay, so execute resolve transaction first. All callbacks will be executed in the order they appear in the list. If a callback requires a certain pre or post execution state, the client will be transitioned accordingly. Then the client will cycle to the final lifecycle state if provided. Okay, so this one is the one. Now we need to figure it out who is calling this. This one is a public method, and we are not able to figure it out. So what we can do, transaction executor, execute transaction executor. Okay, we are already in this class. I need to find execute. Execute method name. No, this one. This one. Okay, so who is calling this method? So these are all test. Then this one is a thread, and this one is a client transaction handler. Handle message is mostly used by the queue, the looper. So we can go inside of this, and this one is going again into the activity thread and handle message. Okay, activity thread, and there will be a method handle message, CL. Okay, so this is the method which is inside of h. What is h? Okay, class h extends handler. Mm-hmm. These are all the constants. Nice. So we found one more thing: bind application, exit application, start stop service, create service, bind service. I'm aware of some of them. Low memory, then relaunch activity, and there is the code they are converting. Nice. So mapper method in case of a debug messages. Cool. Okay, so here we are looking for, and what's the name, execute transaction. Mhm. So this method has a, okay, so this is a message object which is we are getting from the looper, hopefully. And in that message object we are casting now client transaction, then from transaction we are sending this to the executor, which we saw this executor, and then this executor is calling again. Okay, we will create a diagram later that will help us to understand the flow, because it's pretty cumbersome, we are moving here and there. Okay, once it's calling this execute transaction, how we can figure it out? Who is calling this one is a public. So there is a client transaction handler, schedule transaction. So schedule transaction is the one, and prepare the schedule transaction who is calling this. So we can check this one. And what we are looking for, we are looking for execute transaction. So who is calling this now? So this one is called by, again, activity thread. And schedule execution. So then we can check in activity thread who is calling this now. From here, app thread send activity result. What is this method? Main thread. But start activity for, we are not looking for start activity for result. So transaction executor, then execute transaction executor. Execute, and now we need to found, last time we saw this, then these are all test. This one is activity, we saw this, then this one is also test, this one is activity thread, transaction handler. What is this? This one is saying client transaction.java. Schedule the transaction after it was initialized. We can check who is calling this method. So this one is going in a generated code. And maybe we can read from the test if we found something. So how they are calling, so basically client transaction item is calling every time this client transaction, one thing is client transaction. So this class is basically a container that holds a sequence of messages which may be sent to a client. This includes a list of callbacks and the final lifecycle state. Okay, and this one is used on many places. This one is abstract, we already saw this one. Then in case of an activity thread, where we have this complex, oops, so now we are in a, nope, not looper, we are in here execute, and now I think it's confusing. So now what we will do, we will go with the debugger and we will see until where we can go by using debugger. Sometimes debugger does not work, but sometimes it worked, and it's working for in this case. So now I'm sure you guys are aware of, I can go directly from here and I can see all that live in the hierarchy, but it's always good if you are curious to jump in, because I found a lot of new classes which I can't, if like this one. So before going to show you the proper hierarchy, this one I found and I really amazed. Okay, so there is something, they have an activity lifecycle item, they are extending for destroy. If they can show me, no, okay, no problem. So destroy activity item, so this one is called every time when there is a destroy. And then I also found pose activity item, and to me it looked like, okay, small methods, like kind of a commands, look like a command pattern. And this one is the activity item class, so in between that is used. So that is, sometimes you found really amazing things. So now I'm coming back and we are going with this. So we are here on start, who is calling this, and also I think we can make our graph. So this is first class, I will put here. So this is the main activity. Then we are moving towards this one, is called inside of instrumentation, but I will save first, that is going into the activity. So because that is inherit from here, so this is an activity. Then after activity, we are calling, we need to check who is calling this method, and we found instrumentation one. So now at this point instrumentation is calling this. I will remove this so it will be easy in our graph. Then this is the hierarchy until now, and this arrow maybe look like reverted, but it's okay. Then it's calling perform start, which is coming again into an activity. I think I will put later that arrows. Then it called handle start activity, and we are able to figure it out this until at this point. Below, so we are not messing this. Then performance lifecycle, yes, we also found this class. So we are in a transaction executor, and the method name is this. Then after that, cycle to path, we also found this method. This is a private method, but who is calling, basically this is the same class, and this method is called here. then execute, still inside of that, execute, handle message. Yeah, we are able to figure it out until this point. Then dispatch message. Here we are not able to figure it out because after this there are too many layers. Layer means there are too many classes who are using this, and we are getting messages from the looper main thread, and there are many other classes also they can send. So at this point we lost our search, but thanks to the debugger today, we are able to see all the classes. And dispatch message is a handler, makes sense. Then this is a loop once. This one is a looper class, but I really don't understand what does that mean, looper once, loop once. I understand from the name it makes sense. Okay, loop only once, poll and deliver a single message, return true if the outer loop. But I don't understand really the inside of that working, why it's only once. Maybe is it because the life cycle event it only happens once. Then we have loop. Then we are until this point where we also reviewed in our zygote app, zygote video. So here we can see there is a main method which is called in activity thread. So things started from here, and then this one we lost. From here it's pretty difficult to figure it out where things are going. This one is method class, generic class. It look like kind of a functional method which they are calling, and it look like using pretty abstract things, reflection, and it's not easy to understand as per my opinion. But I'm happy the debugger figure it out at this point. We are in this class runtime init, and then we are in a main zygote. So this is our hierarchy. We can try to understand from here. So once basically it start from here. Once we have a zygote init. Zygote init is it's a process. I think it's written here also. So it's saying this is the entry point for a zygote process. It creates the zygote server, load resources. So I, I think once, just like yesterday we discussed, once we click on the app, the activity starts after application. And at this point, it's this one is the main method for the zygote. Once the process is ready, process start. This method is called as per my understanding. And then after that, for in case of an activity, it's calling runtime init. What is runtime init? So we can check if there is any. So main entry point for runtime initializations, not for public consumption. So runtime initializations means from the OS perspective, activity, surveys, fragments also run, in my opinion they are runtime initializations. Yeah, from the client perspective as an Android app developer, for me it's not, I can't do because I'm working in a framework. Activity is a framework, and we are only allowed to work in the life cycles, so we are not able to initialize that object, but someone is doing. And now today we found, okay, so the basically zygote is the one who started the process. Then after that, runtime init is the one who is initializing these. And then where we are activity thread. So after that we come here in activity thread, and here this method is called first time, who is responsible to create the activity and also doing some other stuff. Then once the activity is ready, it's calling looper loop once and run the message queue in this thread. Be sure to call to end the loop. So it look like, okay, once from the our message queue, it got the, I'm not sure is it getting the message or it started from here. 1 minute. So we can check what they are calling looper.loop, and so we can go inside of looper and we can check the what is the definition of a loop. Run the message queue in this thread, be sure to call quit to and loop. Okay, so it means now our main thread is ready, it's working. That one is called here. Then loop once is calling with the message, loop one is loop once, and then we are getting the handler. So looper is attached with, oh sorry, basically handlers are attached with the loopers. So handlers are allowed to send the messages, and you can attach multiple handler with the one looper, and it's a main, I think so it's a main UI thread, and handler is attached with that. So from here it's sending the message, dispatch, then the message, and that message is internally saying okay, this one is a execute transaction. Then lifecycle state, there are some important things are going on, cycle to path, performance lifecycle, and this one is the important one. Like not all of them are important, but for the understanding, this one is the one where most of the time it's coming, every time lifecycle events will happen, it will come here. The one more curiosity which I have now, for now I can see on start, on destroy, on stop, but as we know there are many more methods. On configuration changed, that is also the part of a life cycle, but I found now today that is not mainly the part of this execution. And if we need to figure it out, that will be a different video, and we will do hopefully. Then handle start activity, this coming into the activity start, and after that we have perform start, and then is the last. And then from here, now the main activity, basically activity, and then this one is called. So you can see how many layers in between. From the hierarchy side, we can see again from the class perspective. So first is the zygote init, then runtime init, then activity thread. From activity thread is moving towards the looper, sending a message, basically static method, then handler, activity thread, transaction executor, that is going the implementation inside of the same class, calling different method, then activity thread, activity instrumentation. So if we really want to be to more confident with the activity, what we can do, we can easily aggregate which class called how many times. So like for example, instrumentation is called once, so I will say okay, if we are not really good with this class, it's okay, but check this activity thread 1, then activity thread 2, then activity thread 3. So 3 times in this whole flow. So it means if you really understand the activity thread, most of the time you will understand how things are working under the hood in Android API platform. I think we discuss too much for today, so hopefully we will discuss in a next video something else. Maybe we will check how the fragment callbacks are working, or maybe some other topic. So see you in the next video. Bye.